The Joovv Mini Tabletop Red Light Therapy Panel. Very expensive, rather nice though. Let's see how it performs in this review. Let's get into it. Hey guys, Alex here from alexfergus.com. Let me turn this off. You should see this slowly fade away as it has a 10-second timer to turn off, I think. Here we go. That was a long 10 seconds. The fan keeps running though. We'll talk about that soon. I really don't like this fan. Anyway, I'm not a fan of the fan. Today I have the Joovv Mini tabletop panel. This is the smallest non-battery powered panel from Joovv. Yeah, Joovv have quite a bit of a history. I've reviewed a lot of their products, a lot of their panels. Very well known in the red light therapy space. Market, one of the first big companies on the scene. I used their first generation Joovv Solo panels many years ago now. This is the third generation panel, so a lot has changed. They have a lot of massive marketing budget, and you've probably, if you've been in the red light space for a while, you've probably seen them or seen their products. So in this video, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tell you a bit about the company, tell you a bit about the panel, then I'm going to follow my standard review template. We're going to look at price, shipping, size, features, how to use it, how it performs from a power point of view. I've got my spectrometer lying around here. We're going to test the EMF and the sound. If you've seen my review on the Joovv Solo, you'll know that one, the Joovv Solo was very loud and I hated the sound. It was just an annoying whine. And we also know, if you've seen those videos, that we also know that the EMF levels were not great. So we're going to look at all that stuff. We're also going to compare it to other products within the Joovv product line, and then most importantly, other products on the market that compete with this panel. Okay, so I actually had one really large box turn up, and within that box were two medium-sized boxes, this power cable, and the glass box. So let's quickly go through all this. The first thing that's interesting is the power cable. It's listed as Australia and New Zealand, which is great because that's where I live. 3 meters long, I think, which is quite good as well. But the first thing I noticed, there's no grounding port on this cable. If you've seen my review of the Joovv Solo, you'll know that was a big issue because it had high electric field readings, concerningly high, and I said it was an easy fix. And I thought, no doubt they will fix it. Fast forward a year or two, and it looks like they haven't really changed it. So that is a big bummer and a bad start. We've got the protective eyewear. I'm not too sure what the orange dots mean, but let's have a look at this. These are the green lens ones that I believe Joovv was the first company to use the green lens ones, which I really like. We're seeing it in quite a few companies now using the green lens. Allows you to see, still read a book or a phone, but you're protecting your eyes from the red light if that is of concern to you. So just remember, the stand, when you purchase the Joovv Mini, you can buy it with the stand, or you can save $50 and get a boot instead. I paid the extra 50 bucks and got the stand. What do we got here? Instructions, booklet. Joovv always do a good job with their packaging, branding and all that. I suppose you're paying a lot of money for that privilege. It feels quite lightweight. It's plastic with a metal sort of spine, I guess. So this is the stand. The base here made of plastic, and then we've got this metal backing. It's quite light. I've just finished reviewing the Biomax 300 panel, and that was a big, real solid metal stand, quite heavy. Not that that's a bad thing, just pointing out the differences. Looks like it can be adjusted. Yep, it's quite stiff, but that's typical given the size of the panels they're holding. Quite a unique mechanism on here, because Joovv have their own sort of, I guess it's proprietary mechanism for clipping on panels. So that's the stand. Very cool. All right, so that must mean this last box here is the panel itself. Okay, and we have a box within a box, which also came in another box. So lots of boxes. All right, so we've got the user manual. So it says it's for the Joovv Mini 3.0 and the Solo. So a lot of companies do this where they have, you know, one manual, and it goes through how to mount the stands and the plug and how to use it. And yeah, I mean, it's quite a good manual actually, because there are a few moving parts in these Joovv panels. We've got the accessories box. Okay, we've got another power cable, which is interesting. Okay, and this is the US cable, and that was all that was in the box, so that's no use to me. I'm guessing what they do is they include that US cable with every box, and then if an order comes in from outside the US, they chuck in the local one. Maybe it's cheaper to do it that way, but it is obviously a bit of a waste because I've now got one of these cables that is absolutely no use to me, and I guess I had to pay for it. All right, and now we've got the panel itself. I should show you my floor because it is covered in cardboard right now. Okay, so again, it's nice, light panel, one of the lightest. Well, actually no, I'd have to go back and check the notes, but yeah, I mean, it's got that same Joovv, modern Joovv, the Joovv 3.0 plastic case, a little bit of metal on the back there with the brace. It is a nice package. You know, nice handheld at the top, easy to grab on the side. I think the Joovv Solo also had a side handheld as well. We've got the LEDs, obviously. Control panel on the side there. Yeah, I mean, it is a good looking, sleek, quite unique panel. One fan on the back. It will be interesting to see if it puts out that horrible whir that the Joovv Solo I reviewed put out, which was, you know, not a pleasant sound. Check out the review of that Joovv Solo if you want to know more about it. Okay, now I'm going to see how this mounting system goes. Oh, not like that. Okay, so I'm assuming it just slides on, which would make it quite easy. Yes, it does. That is actually really, really easy and super sturdy as well. I like that. Very, very nice. How do I get it off? Lift that. How do you get it off? Maybe I need a bit more effort. Maybe I need a bit more gym time. Okay, it's a bit tricky to get off. I'm gonna put it on the floor. There we go. What I did is I put it on the floor and stood on this part and lifted it off because it is quite tight. But that is nice. You know, there's no screws, there's no needing to get Allen keys or screwdrivers out. Really nice setup there. And then it's got a bit of an adjustment so you can go angling down or a slight angle up. There's no height adjustment, but that is cool. Okay, cool. So let me run down the key features, the key facts about the Joovv Solo, sorry, the Joovv Mini. Joovv Solo is its bigger brother. So Joovv, like I said, been in the space for a long time. American company. This is their third generation product line. This generation, the third one, is completely different. It is actually a plastic panel. There's a bit of metal on it, but it is quite light. It comes in at 7 pounds. It's also made in Malaysia, I believe. Most panels are made in China. So it does set itself apart from the competitors. It's rather nice looking. They use their own proprietary stand system, as we've already seen there. You can get some other stands, which we'll talk about soon as well. Price wise, there's a bit to go through here, so bear with me. Unfortunately, it's not just a simple matter of saying, hey, this is how much it is. Yeah, it just doesn't work like that with Joovv. This panel here cost me $1,100 US. That was with this stand, the mini stand, I believe it's called. Now, I could have got it $50 cheaper, so $1,050, and that would have come with a boot. I actually have one of the boots. I got it with my Solo, but unfortunately it's stored away somewhere and I couldn't find it. But all that does is slides, the panel just slides into a floor boot, a foot boot, I guess, and it'll just hold it upright, you know, and you can put it anywhere on the floor. Or on the ground or on the table, I guess. What's interesting though, when you select the Mini, it defaults to include the Mini stand. So if you're on a super tight budget, or if you're on a super tight budget, I don't recommend buying a Joovv, but anyway, more on that soon. If you're on a budget and you want to get a Joovv, then you can actually save $50 if you change from the mini stand to the boot. It's a bit tricky, not tricky, it's a bit cheeky, I think, and I'm sure a lot of people have been caught out. But saying that, this stand is worth $50 anyway, so it's not like you're getting ripped off. But if you're not planning on using this adjustable stand, yeah, definitely look into that. So we've already got a difference here, but look, the base price would be, I guess, $1,050. However, this setup here, $1,100. Now, that price doesn't include shipping, nor does it include taxes. I know, crazy, right? Who does this? So every other panel I've reviewed, every product I've reviewed over the years, the price includes taxes, unless of course you're shipping it internationally, and then you might get hit with import taxes, but you know, everyone just is aware of that. What I did is I put in two addresses, one Californian address and one address in New York, and the price came up for this panel here. There was $105 taxes if you were getting it sent to California, $100 taxes if you were getting it sent to New York, lucky you. Shipping for both of those addresses was $30. I probably should have played around a bit more and chucked in some more states, but I mean, you guys have a lot of states over there, right? So I figured we've got both coasts covered. But yeah, $100 on top of the original price, and then you've got shipping as well. So if you're in LA and you want to get this, as you see here with the stand, you're going to pay $1,100 plus $105 for taxes plus $30 shipping. So what's that? $1,235 US to get it shipped to your door. That's a lot of money for a panel that has 60 LEDs. And if it's anything to go by, if it's similar to my Joovv that I've tested before, it's not the most powerful panel. But hey, I shouldn't say that until I know it. But anyway, it's a lot of money, okay? Compare it to some of these other tabletop panels. I think the cheapest panel I've tested was around like the $300 mark. You could get 3 or 4 of them for the price of this, so crazy times. Now, what about international customers? Shipping to Australia was $275 US. That's a lot of money. Now, it didn't list any taxes. That's because you'll be paying taxes when it hits your border. I know that because here in New Zealand, I paid, I think it was $250 for shipping, and then I got a couple $100 bill when it hit the border. So I paid a lot of money for this, like a lot of money. But anyway, shipping to the UK was $145. Again, no taxes, you'll pay it when it hits your border. So very expensive product. Let's move on from price. Okay, let's have a look at the panel itself. 60 LEDs, it uses both 660 nanometers and 850 nanometer light. So rather old school in that regards. There's no what I call multi-wave technology here. There's no, you know, 810s or 830s or 630s. Bit of a disappointment because the space is evolving in that regards. However, it does use pulsing, or it does have a pulsing function only for the near infrared light, and only at 10 Hertz. You cannot customize the pulsing rate like you could with LightPath LED panels or the new infrared flex panels, which you can set it from anything from 1% to 10,000%. Sorry, 1 Hertz from 10,000 Hertz. You can alternate between red and near infrared. If you want the pulsing function, it is only on your near infrared. Like I said earlier, it's a plastic panel, rather light, 7 pounds. 14, just under 15 inches tall, just under 9 inches across, and just under 2.5 inches thick. So a standard sort of size for a 60 LED panel. The good thing is though that the weight, that would be quite attractive if you're buying one of these so you can travel with it or lug it around, you know, if you're moving quite a bit. This is quite attractive, even with the stand, because this stand, as we saw earlier, a lot of plastic in it, though it's still solid and feels very sturdy. So it's not a heavy setup. We compare that to the Biomax 300, which I have here. Obviously, this is a lot larger panel. I can't remember off the top of my head, 100 LEDs, I think. The stand is all metal. Of course, the case is all metal. This is rather heavy, a lot bigger, not something you're just going to throw in your suitcase. It's also screwed in on the back, so you can't just pop it off like you could with the Joovv. Not that it was meant to be a comparison video, and by the way, I really like that Biomax 300. subscribe and you'll be able to see the review on that when it's out. Now on the back you have the power cable going up in a recessed groove at the back. I really like that. It means the cable comes out the bottom, not out the side or at the top or halfway up the panel like most panels do. It's actually a really good design. There is a little hand grip at the top there. There's one fan at the top as well, and the control panel is off to the side here. So overall it is a really nice design. And I should mention as well, this is modular capable, so you can get another one of these, or you can get your Joovv Solo or multiple Joovv Solos and connect them all together. However, it's all a smooth finish here. There's no screws on the top, so typically with the other panels you just slot them in. With Joovv you have to go out and buy their stands and link them all together that way. I haven't done that before, but I'm sure it's a straightforward process. Okay, so speaking of stands, if you do want to get a different stand to this mini stand or that floor boot that I mentioned earlier, you can get the door stand. It's $200 extra, and you can also get a wall stand, which is $250 extra. A little bit frustrating because, yeah, if you want to hang this off the back of your door or on the wall, there's no way to do it. Like every other panel I've tested, they always come with metal clamps or hooks or cables, and you can easily hang it from something, and it's just included. It's just so easy to use, right? So you can't do that with the Joovv. If you get this set up here and then you decide, hey, you know what, I want to hang it from that hook, and you know, after I've had a shower, do a quick session and target my back or something, you can't do that unless you go out and buy that wall stand. Something like the Bimax, which I just showed you before, has the metal prongs on the top. You can screw in the metal cables that come with it, and you can hang it from a hook, easy peasy. Of course, you've got the stand option as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. Think about how you're gonna, if you're looking at this Joovv Mini, how you're gonna use it. If you're gonna use it as a tabletop panel, like while you're on your desk, or you know, for makeup, you're doing your makeup and you got it on your makeup desk, then yeah, that won't bother you. If you're looking at the bigger Joovv panels, then yeah, that could be an issue. And if you are looking at those bigger panels, check out my Joovv review, Joovv Solo review, and you don't need to watch this mini review. Warranty and returns, it's got a 60-day return policy. I'm not too sure of the fees, it's just too hard to keep up with, so I don't mention them anymore in the reviews. You'd have to go over to the Joovv website. 2-year warranty. Used to be good. Nowadays 3 is the standard or gold standard, and there are companies pushing it right out to 5 years. It's a bit of a disappointment. It's only 2-year warranty because you are paying a lot of money for this panel. So yeah, bit of a bummer there. All right, what I'm gonna do now is fire up my spectrometer, my EMF meter, and my sound meter, and I'm gonna take some readings and see how this thing is running. All right, so I've done all my testing now to share the results with you, and there is some interesting insights here. I'm gonna do this one in reverse. So I'm gonna talk about sound first. Now, this has, at 6 inches, has a decibel reading of 52. 52 decibels at 6 inches, which is a little bit on the higher side for tabletop panels, but it's not super alarming like some of the big wall panels, you know, your body panels are high 50s, even 60s. I think the Joovv Solo, the bigger one, was above 60. To put that in perspective, I think the Bimax was about 48. What else have we got here? The Mitre Red was about 49. So typically under 50 is a good reading. 52 isn't too bad. But what is bad is the sound that this makes. Now, I'll see if I can get this on camera, because it's not the most pleasant whir. Let's have a listen to this. Okay, so it's not as bad as the large Joovv Solo, which I used for a couple of weeks, and it would really grate me because it was like this whir. You could hear the up and down pulsing. I really didn't like it. There's only one fan in this panel, so it may not be as pronounced. It's still a little bit higher pitched than most panels though. Now, the other interesting thing is when you stop this, if I hit stop here, it takes 10 seconds to turn off. But even when it is finished turning off, the fans keep going for a few minutes. I don't know exactly how long it is. It's maybe a minute or so. It's just at a slower pace. So that's the slower pace there, which is a lot better sound. It doesn't have that irritating whir. But, and this is normal, when you turn it off, so right now the whole unit's off, it's on at the wall, but it's off here. There's still this really strange noise. I'll see if you can pick it up. Do you hear that? So right now, the panel's on at the wall, but it's off on the device. It's weird. I ducked out just earlier, had to look after my kids, left everything set up. As soon as I came back into the room, there's nothing else going on out here. I could hear that, I don't know, it's like a digital staticky. It's really weird. And I think the Joovv Solo also had a similar issue. So I don't know what's going on there. Problem is, of course, if you're using this at a desk, which is where I am right now, and your cord isn't easily accessible, I actually had this room built for my YouTube channel, right? So I put PowerPoints in very handy locations because I knew I'd be using them. However, over to my left here, just out of screen, is my monitor and my keyboard and printer and all that set up. And under there is a big power cord with lots of plugs going into it. If this was just my everyday desk and I wanted to use this while I was at my desk on my face, chances are that cord would be going down into that plug. I wouldn't have this easy accessible one behind me. Now, if I was only using this once a day, as soon as I turn it off, that sound would really get to me. So what would I do? I'd have to get under the bench, either pull it out or turn it off, but then of course, probably my printer and all that would go off. I'm sure I can't be the first one that's had this issue. If you have a Joovv Mini or any Joovv product and you notice this, yeah, I'd love to know. So leave a comment below. And again, I'm pretty sure it's been a while since I tested that Joovv Solo, but I'm pretty sure there was a similar issue with that one as well. So it's kind of weird that it's still happening. But hey, that's the sound. Let's move on to EMF and then we'll do the power. Okay, now for the EMF data. So there's good news and bad news. And the good news is the magnetic fields from this device are fine, which is pretty standard now. This is for 6 inches. As you get closer to the panel, there is a bit of a reading, but that is the norm across the board. And Joovv, well, most panels are used at 6 inches. What's interesting is Joovv, I think, say you should use the panel at 12 inches, which is a bit ridiculous because not many people would use it at 12 inches. But anyway, that's what they say. The bad news is the electric field reading, as predicted, is really high, even at 6 inches. Using my Cornet electrosmog meter here, programmed into the building biology standards, it's up in the red zone with the reading there. So it's yeah, concerningly high. I'd use it if this was the only panel that I had. I'd still use it. I wouldn't let my kids play around it for a long period. I wouldn't be shining it on my kid or on my privates just because of the sensitive areas we got going on there. And I'd always be a little bit concerned. I mean, early on in my red light therapy review career, a lot of panels had high EMF readings. But here in 2022, nearly 2023, with a 3rd generation panel, we shouldn't be seeing this. No other panel I've tested out of, I don't know, 10 tabletop panels have had dangerously high EMF levels. And what is also disappointing is the 2nd gen Joovv didn't have this issue. It's only the new 3rd gen one. And what makes things even worse, and I've done a whole video on this, I'll link to that below. What makes things even worse, it's a simple remedy. I mean, it's just because this device isn't grounded. There's no grounding plug in the cable, and obviously it hasn't been built that way. But without knowing much about manufacturing and whatnot, I'm sure it's not a lot to overhaul. And I really thought, after my previous criticisms and reviews on the Joovv EMF issue, I really thought that when this turned up, I thought, hey, I wonder if they've fixed it. So I was, disappointed, as we saw earlier. So yeah, that is a bummer. If you're worried about EMF, yeah, I mean, it's obviously a big red flag. If you're not worried about EMF and you don't even know what it is, look, let me just say that from a health and safety point of view, there are better ones out there. I mean, you're only going to be using this for 10, 15 minutes a day, right? It's not like you're sleeping on top of it or anything like that. People are surrounded by EMF fields and whatnot, but electric fields are quite easy to reduce, and it's just a shame that they haven't done that. Okay, now for the power numbers. All right, so I've got all the data here. So what I did is I used my electrosmog meter, my spectrometer. This is the Hopo Color OHSP 350F. It measures wavelengths in the 380 nanometer range right through to 1050. I've done videos on how I test this. I don't want to get into too many details. I just know a lot of people may be coming in watching this video without seeing my previous work. This detects irradiance. It detects what light is present in the environment and at their levels. So you can go outside, you can use it on any device. It's pretty cool. It also detects flicker. There was no flicker in these LEDs, which is great. So I test that at 6 inches. Now how I do this is, firstly I look for the peak reading. I just simply move around and look for peak reading. Then I take 9 readings, 3 on the side, 3 down the middle, and 3 on the other side. I get an average, and then I work out the treatment area and do an overall wattage calculation. I'll be straight up, it's not, there's some logic and whatnot behind it, but it's not a super serious scientific experiment. It's not like, I'm not a lab testing with high strict standards or anything like this. But what I have found is my numbers typically come pretty close to the lab reports. I know one was only a few % different between my results and what the lab produced. And I've found that it will, this way of testing it allows me to share data with you guys, and it's pretty good at comparing panels and just seeing, look, who is better and who isn't. So enough about that. Let's go into the details. Now, firstly, peak power, which early on used to be my main reading. I no longer use that as a main power reading now, because that's just one, it could be one crazy hotspot where all the light sort of resonates into one area, and next thing you know, you've got a crazy high reading. But this Joovv Mini had a peak reading of 72 milliwatts over centimeter squared. That's actually pretty good. It's not like, you know, record breaking or anything like that. Just looking at my chart here, for some other panels I've tested, I've had peaks of 64, 72, 47, 56, 65, and 105. So look, 52 is, oh, what did I say? 72 is, it's respectable, and you're going to get results with that power. What is interesting though, typically you find the peak in the middle. I found about 69 in the middle, and as I was doing my average 9 readings, I actually got a 72 down the bottom right here, which is bizarre. But anyway, that was the highest reading, so I updated my peak. Now, for the average, I had an average of 53. Remember, that's the average of 9 readings. 53 milliwatts over centimeter squared. Now, to put that in perspective, because this number is a good number to compare against panels, Red Rush had an average of 50, Mito Pro 353, so about the same as this. Dermabeam 32, Luminosity 43, Hooga, I think this is a 50, the Biomax 70. So yeah, really good average. And then once we've got that figure, I can then figure out total wattage, which is based on the area. And we had 28 watts, which is, it's kind of mid-pack. Looking at my other numbers, 40, 23, 13, 22, 26, 48. Actually, so no, that makes it third place based on those numbers I looked at there. So it's a little bit high. And that is because it is putting out a reasonable amount of light, which is good, which is really good. Not the best, but yeah, top 3, looking at the data real quickly. By the way, I'll be doing a full comparison with all these tabletop panels in the near future, so be sure to subscribe for that. I know I'm going back and forth here, but yeah, subscribe to that. I'll be sitting down and comparing all these panels against all different metrics and whatnot, so hang out for that. Okay, now finally, since we've got those numbers, what we can do is some value calculations here. So we can do $1 per LED, and this is $18.33. Now this is going off the retail price of $1,100. It doesn't include the taxes and the shipping. So $18 is already quite high. You're spending a lot of money per LED, and really it would be higher than that by the time you get it shipped to your door, even if you're in the States. But yeah, I gave them, I was a bit generous, and so I gave them a figure of 18, which again is still high. Now the $1 per wattage figure, again, based off the non-tax, non-shipped price, was $39.30. And just having a quick look at my data from other panels, that is the highest by far. Typically with a large panel, I say anything under 10 is good. Remember, the lower is better. With tabletops, anything under 15 is good. This goes with 39. So that means you're paying $39 to get 1 watt of therapeutic red light. It's a lot of money. Okay, so that is that. Now I want to look at operation, and then we're going to compare this to other panels within the Joovv range, and then finally other panels in the market. So operation wise, there's 2 ways you can operate this panel. The first is with the app. and the second is with the control panel built in. We're going to have a look at the control panel first, and then we'll fire up the app and talk about that. Okay, so when you see on the side here, there's little lights going at the moment, and that's because the power is on at the wall. I'm going to turn it on. It defaults to 10 minutes. All these buttons are quite easy to use. It's still a basic control panel, but it's better than some of the others, right? But still, comparing it to like the new like Infrared Flex or like Bimax screens, this is very outdated in terms of the display and the buttons and whatnot. But let's go through it. So we've got a power button, we've got the play, start, stop button, timer button, which simply adds a minute to your clock, up to 20, I think. We've got this light button, which alternates between red light, which the red's glowing, the infrared, which is glowing, or both. Pretty self-explanatory. And then this is your pulsing, your 10 hertz pulsing. So you can have that on or off. And then that's really it. So when I hit start, what's going to happen here is you'll notice the timer doesn't start right away. And that's because it takes, I think it's 10 seconds for the light to come up to full power. So, yep, there we go. So we're at full power now. By the way, when I did my testing, it was at full power. And now the timer starts. It's kind of cool because, you know, anyone that has turned on a red light therapy panel, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that's bright. So I do like the fact that it takes a while to just come up to speed, especially with the larger Joovv. Not so as important with the smaller one, but hey, it is kind of a neat feature. However, it also works in reverse. So when I hit stop here, you'll see that the timer stops, but the lights don't. And that's because it's getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer before it turns off. Now, I've said this in previous Joovv reviews. I don't like that. I like the fact that it turns on slowly. I don't like the fact that it takes a while to turn off, because typically when you want to turn it off, like you just want to turn it off. You don't really care about your eyes adjusting. Well, at least I don't. Like if someone comes into the room, or I don't know, you're all wrapped up and you got to go, you just want to stop it, right? But it does that, which is a bit frustrating. You can get around this by just hitting the power button, which is typically what I was doing when I was using these devices. So let's say you want to stop the session and you want it to stop, just hit the power button and it will stop it all. Of course, you lose your timer and all that. So anyway, I mean, it's a neat concept. I just think it could have been done a bit better. What else is interesting? Well, as it's running, you can't change between the wavelengths. You have to stop it and reset it all if you want to disable red or near infrared, likewise with the pulsing. So yeah, and you can't add time to the clock. You've got to stop it all. It's a little bit, I mean, other panels typically don't do that, but hey, it is what it is. And like I've said earlier, when you do stop it, the fan keeps going for a while before shutting down. All right, let's go have a look at the app now. Okay, so let's look at the Joovv app function. Now, if you've seen my Joovv Go and the Joovv Solo reviews, you would have already seen this function, but we're gonna do it again. So I've just gone into the Joovv app here. You do need to create an account, which is a bit annoying. I mean, personally, I'm not a big fan of the app. I'll explain why in this little segment, but the fact as well that you have to create an account as well, it's just like, and to be honest, you actually need the app to unlock some other features within this panel, which again, I just find frustrating, but it is what it is. Anyway, so we're in the app now. Let's add a device. So I'm just going to go up here, press light mode and recovery buttons for 3 seconds. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3. Continue pairing. Oh, it's found it. Simple. Pairing device. Cool, we're done. All right, so now when we're in here, pretty much I can control the device through the app, but most of the controls I can also do on the panel itself. So right now, if I hit start session, we will see that the red light is glowing. It's gonna go for 10 minutes. Remember, it takes 10 seconds to build up an intensity. Kind of cool, but a little bit frustrating sometimes. And then the timer starts. What I'm seeing on here, 9:54, is exactly what I'm seeing on the app as well. So I can pause it. So I'll hit pause, timer stops, start again, or stop. So I'm just gonna stop that. We'll come back to that stat screen. So yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. I can hit these buttons. So I can hit the timer, change it from 1 minute through to 20. I can change the wavelengths from near infrared, red and near infrared, red only, or ambient. Now, ambient is for background use, right? Background mode. Now, you'll see that the settings are, we've got 4 options, 100% power down to 25% power. Personally, I would have rather seen like a 1%, a 5%, or 1%, 10%, 25%, maybe 50%. Because really, like, what's the point of 75% or 50% if you're using it as a background light, right? Even better, I would have liked a custom, you know, being able to choose right from 1% through to 100, like you can on the Biomix panels and the new Infrared Flex panels. This particular mode, the ambient mode, is only accessible through the app. Again, bit of a bummer. It wouldn't have been hard to put another button on here on the panel itself, and just, you know, just have a percentage icon and just 50, blah blah blah. Like, but hey, you need the app and you need an account for that. So we'll leave it on full for now. You can also do the pulsing, but you can only do pulsing in the infrared mode, I believe. I don't know why it's not allowing me to do that. Interesting. Anyway, so yeah, you start everything through there, and then you can see your stats. So I can go in and see my sessions this week, set up goals. These are the sessions I was just doing there. I personally don't find this very useful, though some people may, especially once you've got a lot of data points in here and you look back over time and, I don't know, maybe correlate it, compare it to your training load or your HRV data and Aura Ring and see if there's any patterns there. So yeah, it could be useful. Again though, you've got to have the account and the app to use all this. So there's also the session beeper setting, again, only available through the app. So go up to settings and then session beeper, so you can turn it off. You can have the panel beep 2 minutes before the end, beep at the halfway mark, beep every 2 minutes, or beep at the end. I personally like the beep at the midway point, though this is more for the larger body panel. So if you're doing, you know, a session on your back for 20 minutes, or you set it up for 20 minutes and you want to do 10 on your back, 10 on your side, or 10 on your front, you don't have to check the time all the time. You can just wait for the beep, and then you know that's your cue to turn. I do like that. Again though, only available through the app. Otherwise, it's really just settings through there. Now they used to have an alarm mode, but I know they must have pulled that a long time ago, because the first time I played with this, and it was in one of my reviews, you could set an alarm and it would wake up at your predetermined time. I never used it, but they've obviously scrapped that. I'm not too sure why. So that's the app. Okay, cool. So now I want to move on to how this panel compares to other Joovv products. So if you're set on getting a Joovv, then you may want to check out either the Joovv Go or the Joovv Solo. Now I have the Joovv Go with me. Let me grab it. So this is the smallest red light therapy device. It is battery powered, so you can carry it around with you, chuck it in your backpack or whatever. It's actually quite nice. It does come with a stand. Let me just see. Yeah, a charging dock stand. This particular unit is $600, half the price of this. However, there's only 12 LEDs in it compared to 60. This is battery powered, so the power's not going to be as great as what we're getting from here. There's no pulsing in this. It's just got your 660 and your 850 nanometer light. It is a nice design. I do like the handle on the back, the strap on the back, so to speak. You can, you know, spot target and whatnot. It's obviously a lot smaller, so great for travel. And with that little dock stand, yeah, I don't have it with me, but you could just mount it on the table and, you know, treat your face in that. But I mean, you think about it, you've got this little thing or this big one. I mean, yeah, you could spot target that sore jaw or, you know, your eyes or something like that, but this is doing your whole face in one session. And if you're not worried about the portability aspect that this has, then yeah, I mean, it is going to be a lot more suitable. It is twice the price though, so you got to factor that in. Are you better off getting 2 of these, for instance? It's a trade-off. And look, I've done a full review on this, so yeah, check that out if you are interested. What about bigger options? Well, then you go up to the Joovv Solo. Pretty much Joovv really only do 3 red light device sizes, I guess you'd call it. You've got the Go, which we just looked at, the Mini with 60 LEDs, and then the Solo with 150. If you go to the website, they sell like the Max and the Elite and the Quad and all that, but all they are is just multiple Solos connected. I mean, it makes a lot of sense from a business point of view. But yeah, when we go up to the Solo, we're looking at $1,600 excluding tax and shipping. Now, this is a lot of money for a panel of that size, a lot of money, and check out my body panel comparison series from 2021 to see how the Joovv Solo does stack up. 150 LEDs for $1,600. Now look, the Joovv Solo is better from a dollar per LED point of view, but it's still quite expensive. And of course, it's a much larger panel and you can't get this stand. So you're limited to leaning it on the wall or putting it in the floor boot, or using it on the back of the door. So it really depends on what you want from your device and how you plan on using it. However, that's just looking at the Joovv products. Realistically, I think you should look elsewhere. And I am affiliated with most red light therapy companies out there. Discount code Alex typically gives you a little bit of a saving, and it helps pay the bills for me and keep these videos going. I'm not affiliated with Joovv, all right? They have a policy, or at least I was told that if I was with them, I could only be with them. I don't use Joovv devices, I use other ones. So yeah, that's why I didn't do that. People might be thinking, oh, that's why Alex is, giving the Joovv, or is about to say there's other panels, better panels out there. And I get where people are coming from when they say that, but in all honesty, you crunch the numbers, you look at the specs, read the reviews, see how they compare, do the EMF testing, you'll come to the same conclusion. Joovv does have some things going for it, the brand name and all that, I guess that's a big thing. The fact that it's a lot lighter, the plastic panel is kind of neat. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, the app experience is quite nice with Joovv, but I think you don't really need the app. I mean, it's a bit of a gimmick, really. Otherwise, there's nothing really unique about this. Well, to be honest, the stand mechanism was quite nice as well. So that alone could be a selling point. So yeah, I'll give them that. But when you're looking at it from a warranty, EMF, power output, wavelength success that it uses and all that, there are better options out there. So I want to go through some of them. I've got a list here. So we've already seen how the Joovv compares from a power point of view. On the low cost end, we've got the Huga Pro 300. This was only like $200-300. It was super cheap, 60 LEDs, same as this, 2 wavelengths. Was really good for its price. Now remember, $300 versus what, $1,100-1,200 for this? Same amount of LEDs. Power output was very similar, 25 watts versus 28, 29 watts. Like a fraction of the price. Sure, you don't get pulsing and you don't get the nice stand and stuff like that, but I mean, it's a quarter of the price. So that's one option. You've got the Mitre Pro 300, which was a little bit bigger, similar sort of power figures, but from a price point of view, it was only like half the cost of this from a value point of view. You've also got the Biomax 300, which we saw earlier. Again, a little bit bigger, tons of power in that. Quite a nice stand. That gets the control, the nice touchscreen control though, and you get the remotes and all that, which you don't get with the Joovv. Really, I could go on and on, but there's pretty much all the other panels I've tested have been around that $300 to maybe $600 price point. Sometimes you pay a little bit extra for a stand, sometimes the stand's included. They all sort of vary, and that's why you really need to check out that comparison series when it's out soon. But none of them are even close to the $1,000 price point. In fact, some of them are like $600 and you're getting 100 LEDs. This is 60 LEDs for over $1,000, excluding taxes and shipping. And if money isn't an issue and you're still like thinking, hey, I want to go with Joovv, just remember that you've got that EMF issue that no other panel had. It's that alone is a bit of a turn off. But on the flip side, you do have pulsing, though some other panels did have pulsing. You do have the app experience. You do have the nice stands, though if you want to get any other type of stands, it's a lot of money. And you do get a Joovv, which some people really value. I'm sure it's got a great resale point of view. But 2-year warranty as well. Those other companies are all 3 years or even longer. So look, hey, I don't want to talk you into one product or another. And I know if I do, or even saying what I have just said, people will be like, that's just because you're biased. But honestly, just stop and look at all the numbers. Yeah, I mean, you'll probably come to a similar conclusion. One thing I need to say, and this is important, and I should have said it earlier, 660 nanometer, 850 nanometer red light at a good therapeutic dose, which this panel is putting out, you're going to get the benefits from red light. You're going to get like the collagen production, you're going to get the inflammation, decreased inflammation, you're going to get all that good stuff, all right? The pain reduction, it's going to happen. It happened with the very first Joovv, the Joovv Gen 1, this is Gen 3. I got great results with that. The power levels in that were nothing like the powers we're seeing in this and in other panels. So Don't get me wrong, if you're gifted this, for instance, or you buy this and now you're watching the review and you're like, oh, did I make a mistake? Don't worry, you're not buying a lemon. You're not buying something that's not going to work. It's not the case. I mean, it's why these companies are going bigger and bigger and growing so fast, because people are catching on that, oh my God, this stuff really does work. All I'm trying to do in my channel and stuff is give you all information so you can make an informed decision and help find the best product for your needs. If I had to choose, say, between a Mito Red 300 and the Joovv Mini, I would go with the Mito Red. But you might be different. You might be looking at all this data and be like, hey, look, that app and the ability to track my sessions, that's worth $1,000 to me, and you'll get it for that reason. Or maybe you saw that stand and how you can clip it in and clip it out, and you think, that's it, that's what I want. Sweet, buy it. Or you may like the fact that this is so light and you can throw it in your suitcase and take it when you go traveling. It's not an issue. Sweet ass, I totally get it. And that's why I'm just trying to put all this information out there, do my testing, find out what's good, find out what isn't good, and let you guys make an informed decision. All right, this has been long enough. I hope you've enjoyed this. Likes, thumbs up, and all of that. I do appreciate it. Leave any questions or comments below. What would you get if you're in the market for a tabletop panel? I'm curious what you would purchase. And again, be sure to subscribe, because I will be we'll be doing those comparison series very, very soon. All right, guys, signing out. Bye.